Well, guys, I checked, and this is probably the last of the beginner mysteries for Scooby-Doo that, I think we'll cover. Then we might go back on to the mini mysteries. But here we have Scooby-Doo Monster Mutt Madness. And just like before, the story begins on page 9. Chapter 1, Picture Perfect. The Mystery Machine pulled to a stop in front of the arena. The giant building was the location for many big events like music, concerts, basketball games, and even monster truck races. Today, a different kind of gathering was being held at the arena. The Liberty Dog Show, said Shaggy as he read the large banner over the front entrance. Like, did somebody enter Scooby in the dog show and not tell me? Nobody told me reader, said Scooby-Doo. Don't worry, Scooby, said Velma. This stop is official Mystery Inc. business. That's right, agreed Fred. We've been asked to check out the strange things that have been happening at the dog show. Mrs. Edna Jameson, runs the show when she invited us, added Daphne. Daphne pointed out the van window. I think that's her now. The gang climbed out of the van and joined the woman on the sidewalk. Mrs. Jameson? Asked Fred. We're Mystery Inc. Can we hear that you have a problem with... Mrs. Jameson held up a finger to her lips. Shh. She shushed. Fred looked at the rest of the gang. We're just here to help with, Velma began. Shh. Mrs. Jameson shushed again. Why? Began Daphne. Shh. Do we? Added Shaggy. Shh. Have to, added Fred. Shh. Be quiet. Finished Velma. Mrs. Jameson looked around. She leaned in close to the kids. I don't want the others to know I asked you to come. Mrs. Jameson explained, and dogs have very good hearing, Scooby nodded. Mrs. Jameson waved the gang forward. Come with me, please, she whispered. The woman led the gang to a side entrance. Once inside the large building, they followed her through a maze of hallways. She showed them into a small office and shut the door. The room was filled with file cabinets. Framed photos of dogs covered the walls. There, said Mrs. Jameson. She plopped down in a chair behind a large desk. Sorry about that, but I wanted to keep your visit a secret. Why? Asked Velma. Mrs. Jameson sighed. It's the last day of the dog show. We had so many people leave already. We've even lost one of the judges. She leaned forward. Something very spooky is scaring everyone away. Don't worry, Mrs. Jameson, said Fred. We'll get to the bottom of this mystery. Velma smiled. It's what we do. What's scaring everyone away? Asked Daphne. For starters, there are these ghostly howls, replied Jameson. Isn't that normal? Asked Daphne. After all, this is a dog show. And some dogs do like to howl, added Velma. Mrs. Jameson shook her head. These howls are not coming from any of the dogs in the show. To be honest, they sound like they're coming from some kind of monster. Shaggy gulped. Like, maybe Scooby and I could go move the van, he suggested. Maybe to Canada? Scooby nodded. Rah! No way, Shaggy, said Fred. I have a plan, and you two are going to be key players. Aw, come on, Fred, said Shaggy. Like, just once, I'd like to watch one of your plans in action from a safe distance. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to be bait for a trap, said Fred. I want you to pretend to be part of the dog show. There are plenty of spots open, said Mrs. Jameson. And I could take the place of your missing judge, suggested Daphne. Good idea, agreed Mrs. Jameson. Thank you. Meanwhile, Fred and I can snoop around to see who is trying to scare everyone off, said Velma. Before you start snooping, you better look at this. Mrs. Jameson picked up a photo from her desk and handed it to Fred. This was taken from one of our security cameras. The gang gathered around Fred to look at the photo. It showed a blurry image of a man running from two strange creatures. The beasts looked like large dogs, but they had glowing red eyes with long, stringy hair. Shaggy gulped. I liked it better when it was just a creepy howl. Chapter 2, Undercover. Shaggy and Scooby-Doo walked into a large grooming area. There were rows of tables where dogs were being brushed, shampooed, and blow-dried. Some dogs rested inside large kennels. Scooby-Doo jumped onto an empty table. Now, getting him ready for the big show? Someone asked. Now, Shaggy looked up to see a man and woman standing nearby. A small white dog stood on their table. Yeah, replied Shaggy. I'm Shaggy and this is Scooby-Doo. I'm Rick and this is my wife Ellen, said the man. Ellen pointed to the dog on the table. And this is Boomer. When Boomer heard his name, he stood straight up, held his head high, and pointed his tail. Wow, said Shaggy. He's very pointy. Rick laughed. That's his show pose. Boomer is very proud of it. Shaggy nudged at Scooby-Doo. Come on, Scoob, show them your show pose. Huh? Asked Scooby. Shaggy leaned in and whispered. We are undercover, remember, Scoob? Okay, said Scooby-Doo. He got to his feet and stood on the table. He thought for a moment. Then Scooby-Doo raised his front arms, shutting his paws into fists and flexed. That's different, said Ellen. Wait. Nope, no suck page. Rick pointed across the large area. Look, there he is. Scooby relaxed as he and Shaggy saw where Rick pointed. In walked a woman with a large poodle. The poodle's curly white fur was shaved, so it looked as if he had large white cotton balls all over his body. That's Jocelyn LaRue with her poodle, Percival, explained Ellen. Percival has won the Liberty Dog Show for the past 4 years. Rick turned back to Boomer. He began to brush the little dog. It's going to be tough to beat him. Shaggy picked up a brush. Yeah, right, he brushed at Scooby's back. Scooby giggled. Red wrinkles! Shaggy continued to brush at Scooby-Doo, then Scooby stopped giggling and raised an ear. Who's whistling? He asked him. Shaggy looked around. I don't hear anyone whistling. All the other dogs looked around. They heard something too. All dogs, please make your way to the main judging area, said a woman's voice over the loudspeakers. All the owners walked their dogs out of the grooming area. Shaggy and Scooby were the only ones left in the room. Like I heard that, said Shaggy. Were you talking about that woman's voice? Scooby shook his head. It was a whistle. Whoo! A ghostly howl filled the air. Shaggy's legs began to shake. You sure it wasn't a spooky howl? Because I just heard one. Just then the door burst open and 2 large creatures came crashing into the room. They each had glowing red eyes and were covered with long, stringy fur. They growled, showing mouths full of large teeth. I guess the monster must from the picture, yelled Shaggy. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy were frozen in fear as the animals moved closer. I have an idea, Scoob, said Shaggy. Run, Raggy, asked Scooby. Run! Chapter 3, Be Brave. Fred and Velma walked through the vendor area. People were selling all kinds of dog products, from collars to costumes to squeaky toys. Do you think any of these vendors would want to close down the show? Asked Fred. I don't see why, replied Velma. They seem to be making a lot of money from all the dog owners. Fred and Velma went up to a vendor selling small silver tubes. Having trouble training your dog? A man asked. If so, then why not try a dog whistle? It's a whistle only dogs can hear. The man blew into the little silver tube, but no sound came out. A nearby dog turned its head to look up at the man. That's neat, said Velma. But we don't need a dog whistle for Scooby-Doo. All we need are boxes of Scooby snacks, added Fred. Fred and Velma walked by more tables. They saw dog brushes, dog beds, and dog treats. One stand had a small crowd in front of it. Is your dog scared of thunder? Asked a man. Or the vets, or the mailman? He held up a small cardboard box. The box had a picture of a dog wearing a cape like a superhero. Well, then you need a box of spunky snacks. The treat that's guaranteed to turn your dog from a scaredy cat to a brave dog. Fred looked at Velma. Maybe Scooby could use a box of those. Just then, the door at the other side of the vendor area flew open. Shaggy and Scooby raced through. Look out! Shouted Shaggy. Crazy monster dogs on the loose! Shaggy and Scooby-Doo dove headfirst into a box full of fluffy dog toys. Toy animals and white stuffing flew everywhere. Fred and Velma looked at the open doorway. I don't see anything, said Velma. Velma and Fred marched over to the giant pile of stuffed toys. They began pulling away the stuffed animals. They uncovered Shaggy and Scooby, who stared ahead without blinking. They were trying to blend in with the other stuffed animals. You can drop the act, guys, said Fred. Shaggy and Scooby-Doo looked at each other. Are they gone? Asked Shaggy. There's nothing chasing you, replied Velma. Shaggy and Scooby climbed out of the box. Phew, said Shaggy. Looks like we lost a buddy. Lost who? Asked Velma. Like the monster mutts from the picture, replied Shaggy. They had big teeth, glowing red eyes, and shaggy fur. Rary, said Scooby-Doo. Sounds like your dog could use a little bravery, said a voice beside them. Everyone turned to see the salesman they saw earlier. He tipped his hat. Alfred Whitman is the name, and spunky snacks are my game. He held up his box of snacks, made of all natural ingredients. These tasty treats will make any dog brave as can be. He reached into the box and pulled out a snack. He tossed it at Scooby-Doo. The dog caught the treat and gobbled it in one bite. Scooby's ears perked up as he chewed. Ooh, rummy! What do you think, Scoob? Asked Shaggy. Do you feel any braver? Scooby-Doo looked around. I think so. Well, that's good, said Velma. Because shouldn't you be in the main judging area with all the other dogs? Asked Velma. Oh, yeah, said Scooby. Now, Shaggy gulped and pointed to the doors leading to the main arena. You mean out there with all those people watching? He turned to Mr. Whitman. How about a spunky snack for me too, huh? Mr. Whitman looked confused. Well, son, they're, supposed to be just for dogs. Velma shook her head. Just go with it. Yeah, agreed Fred. Shaggy eats the Scooby snacks all the time. Well, okay. Mr. Whitman tossed a spunky snack toward Shaggy. Shaggy gulped it down. Why, thanks, Mr. Whitman, said Shaggy. He and Scooby ran toward the doorway. I feel braver already. To be continued.